You've been told it's just aging, that after 50, after 60, this is simply what happens to a woman's body, that the strands thinning in the shower drain, the widening part in the mirror, the fine wisps where there used to be fullness, that this is normal, that it's hormones, that it's genetics, that it's just time. But what if I told you that some of the world's leading dermatologists and metabolic health researchers now believe that narrative is wrong? What if the real cause of accelerated hair loss in women over 50 isn't aging at all, but a silent, invisible deficiency that most conventional blood tests completely miss? A deficiency so common that studies suggest up to 60% of women over 50 may have it, and so misunderstood that the majority of doctors never think to test for it properly. This isn't about expensive treatments or miracle serums. This is about what is actually happening inside your body at the cellular level, right now. And by the end of this video, you will understand your hair loss in a way you never have before. Because understanding the real cause is the first step to reversing it. Stay with me. Because what comes next changes everything. Here's what's really happening inside your body. Your hair follicles are not passive. They're among the most metabolically active structures in the entire human body, cycling through growth, rest, and regeneration on a precise biological schedule. But that cycle runs on fuel. Think of each hair follicle like a tiny engine. And just like any engine, it needs a very specific set of inputs to keep running. When one of those inputs drops below a critical threshold, the engine doesn't roar. It quietly shuts down. That's what's happening when women over 50 begin to notice diffuse shedding, hair thinning, not just at the temples or crown, but across the entire scalp. This pattern, called telogen effluvium, is one of the most underdiagnosed conditions in women over 50, and it is almost never caused by aging alone. Research published in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology found that deficiencies in specific micronutrients, particularly ferritin, vitamin D3, and zinc, directly impair the proliferative phase of the hair cycle, essentially forcing follicles into a prolonged dormancy state far ahead of schedule. And here's the part most people completely miss. Your standard thyroid panel or basic CBC won't catch this. These deficiencies live in the margins, just low enough to devastate your follicles, but not low enough to trigger a red flag on a routine blood panel. This is why so many women are told nothing is wrong, while their hair continues to disappear. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 3 primary deficiencies responsible for the majority of hair loss cases in women over 50. We're going to talk about what each one does inside your follicles, why women in this age group are disproportionately affected, what the current research actually says, and most importantly, exactly what you can do about each one starting this week. This is information your doctor may never have connected for you, so stay until the end, because the 3rd deficiency is the one most people never suspect, and it may be the most important of all. Let's start with ferritin, and I want to be very precise here, because this is where a tremendous amount of confusion lives. Ferritin is not the same as iron. Ferritin is your body's stored iron, the reserve supply your cells draw from when demand spikes, and your hair follicles are extraordinary consumers of stored iron during the anagen, or active growth phase. But here's where it gets shocking. Most physicians consider a ferritin level of 12 nanograms per milliliter to be within normal range. But dermatologists who specialize in hair loss, people like Dr. Linda Frassetto and researchers at the Cleveland Clinic, have found that optimal ferritin for hair regrowth may need to be closer to 70 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. That is a staggering gap. A woman can have a ferritin level of 18, be told she's normal, and simultaneously be experiencing significant follicular dormancy because her stored iron is simply too low to sustain active hair production. After menopause, this becomes especially critical. The hormonal shifts that accompany perimenopause and menopause alter how efficiently your gut absorbs and retains iron, meaning even women with adequate dietary intake may be running on a deficit without knowing it. The solution isn't always supplementation. Sometimes it's absorption, and that distinction matters enormously. If you've had your iron tested, but not your ferritin specifically, it's time to have that conversation with your doctor. Now here's where things become fascinating. Vitamin D3 is not just a vitamin, it functions in the human body more like a hormone, binding to receptors in almost every tissue, including, critically, the hair follicle itself. Researchers at Cairo University published a landmark study finding that women experiencing female pattern hair loss had significantly lower serum vitamin D levels than control groups, and that supplementation produced measurable improvements in hair density within 6 months. But why is D3 so universally low? After 50, your skin loses a significant portion of its ability to synthesize vitamin D3 from sunlight. Some estimates suggest the reduction is as dramatic as 70% compared to your 30s. Combined with the fact that very few foods contain meaningful levels of D3 naturally, and that the standard recommended intake of 600 IU is now considered by many endocrinologists to be woefully inadequate for postmenopausal women, and this matters even more after 60, you have a perfect storm for deficiency. The target many functional medicine physicians now recommend for women over 50 is a serum 25-hydroxyvitamin D level between 60 and 80 nanomoles per litre, a threshold that most women simply never reach without intentional, consistent supplementation. And this next part may surprise you. D3 works synergistically with vitamin K2 and magnesium. Without adequate K2, D3 supplementation may not reach full biological effectiveness in the follicle. This is why so many women supplement D3 for years with minimal results. They're missing the cofactors. If you're still watching, and I'm so glad you are, I want to take a moment and speak directly to you, because I know this isn't just information for you. This is personal. Looking in the mirror and watching your hair change, that is one of the most quietly painful things a woman can experience, because hair is deeply tied to identity, to vitality, to how we show up in the world. This channel exists for women exactly like you, women who refuse to accept decline as inevitable, who are intelligent enough to ask deeper questions, and who believe that the body can be understood, supported, and restored. If that resonates with you, consider subscribing, because we go this deep on every single video. And leave a comment below telling me, have you ever had your ferritin specifically tested? I read every single one. Now we arrive at the third deficiency, and this is the one that surprises people most, because zinc rarely gets the attention it deserves. Zinc is what researchers call a rate-limiting factor in hair follicle cycling. Without adequate zinc, the enzymes responsible for signaling a follicle to exit dormancy and re-enter active growth simply cannot function at full capacity. Think of zinc as the on switch for your hair follicles. When zinc is low, that switch gets stuck in the off position. A study published in Dermatology Research and Practice found that women with hair loss had significantly lower zinc levels than those without, and that zinc supplementation produced notable improvements in hair shedding within 8 to 12 weeks. But here's the deeper mechanism most people miss entirely. Zinc deficiency doesn't just affect the follicle directly. It impairs the function of the thyroid, disrupts cortisol regulation, and compromises gut barrier integrity, all of which indirectly accelerate hair loss through secondary pathways. After 50, zinc absorption decreases, partly due to reduced stomach acid production, which is itself a consequence of hormonal aging. Many common medications, including proton pump inhibitors and certain blood pressure medications, further deplete zinc status. The practical implication is this: if you are experiencing diffuse hair thinning, fatigue, slow wound healing, or a diminished sense of taste and smell, these are the constellation of symptoms that should prompt a conversation about zinc testing. Food sources matter too. Pumpkin seeds, oysters, and grass-fed beef are among the most bioavailable sources. And pairing zinc-rich foods with a protein source enhances absorption meaningfully. I want you to step back for a moment and feel something important. You came into this video perhaps feeling resigned, perhaps feeling like your body had turned against you, perhaps carrying the quiet grief of watching something you loved about yourself fade. and being told there was nothing to do but accept it. That story is not true. Your follicles are not broken, they are starving, and there is a profound difference between a follicle that has permanently shut down and one that is simply waiting for the right nutrients, the right signals, the right biological environment to wake back up. The science is on your side. The research is clearer than it has ever been, and you now understand your body at a level that most people, including many physicians, simply don't. This is not about vanity. This is about reclaiming your vitality, your strength, your sense of yourself as a woman who is not surrendering to a narrative that was never true in the first place. Your hair is not a casualty of age. It is a messenger. And now you know how to listen. So let's bring this together. 3 deficiencies. 3 silent disruptors, operating beneath the threshold of standard testing, quietly starving your follicles of what they need to thrive. Ferritin, the stored iron your follicles burn through in active growth, depleted silently by hormonal shifts and absorption changes. Vitamin D3, the hormonal vitamin your follicles rely on for cycling signals, depleted by aging skin and inadequate dosing. Zinc, the enzymatic on-switch for follicle reactivation, depleted by aging gut function and common medications. Here is your challenge for this week. Request a targeted blood panel from your doctor. Specifically, ferritin, serum, 25OH vitamin D, and serum zinc. Not the generic panels. These specific markers. Write them down. Advocate for yourself. Knowledge is the beginning, but action is where transformation lives. If this video gave you something, a new understanding, a new question to ask, a new sense of hope, please share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below and let me know, which of these 3 deficiencies surprised you most? And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your moment, because every week we go exactly this deep on the science of aging well, living well, and feeling well. Your best decades are not behind you. They are being built, right now, by the choices you make with information like this. I'll see you in the next one.